like I mean, like Felix, you had these guys dead to rights years ago when you loudly proclaimed the honor of the Hillary man versus these spineless fucking worms in the Obama administration. Because it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just like the introduction of these guys is just like what exactly separates them from like Mitt Romney in terms of their like attitudes on like labor, war,
Nothing. No,
taxes,
Mitt Romney is one
like,
of them.
Yeah.
It's just an accident. The only difference is they're on opposite sides of the partisan line.
The only difference is Jay Carney likes Guided by Voices. That's it. He knows who Guided by Voices is.
Yeah, that makes him more repulsive to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's charming to me that Mitt Romney probably, like, listens to Pat Boone. But, like, yeah. Oh, man.
No, it seems like media consumption is virtue for a liberal. It has to be, because they've forsworn any, actual responsibility for anything. They have accepted that getting as high as you can in the hierarchy of blood is the only worthwhile human pursuit. So they have to find somewhere to imagine themselves to be worthy of their position, and it comes from their virtue, which doesn't come from action. Their actions have to go against anything virtuous. It comes from consumption, like it does for the rest of us, and specifically media consumption. Like, the fact that Obama was black was huge, right? And helped him become president. But his enduring popularity and the way that he shaped the Democratic Party had way more to do with the fact that he liked The Wire.
Yeah.
Like, that was mind-blowing for liberals. And it gave them this idea that, like, if you're doing horrible imperial shit or horrible corporate shit, but you watch The Wire, it means you're doing it because there's no other option. Because obviously you get it, right? You get it. So you would never do something bad that you didn't have to do. And the fact that he listens, the fact that Jay Carney's a cool Xer with cool X values, and Mitt Romney's a fucking square who listens to the Osmonds while looking at the Wiki Feet page for Kristen Cinema, that makes him worthy of power and Romney not.
Yeah. And The Wire is sort of the perfect show because it shows all these completely ignored problems in the inner city that exist in every city in America. And by the time it gets near the end of the show, they're like, all right, so the problem starts in schools. If the schools were better, this wouldn't happen.
Maybe if we turn them all over to McDonald's, they would be more efficient, at least. Because that's the thing, is like, the solution is not to be found in stuff like The Wire, only the problem. The solution can be pulled out of the air, aka, what all of the billionaire-funded NGOs have to say the problem is. All the people who have the same interests as you, but also have charts to show you. And of course, these charts are accurate because these guys watch The Wire too.
Let's talk Morbius.
Yeah, folks, let's get morbid up.
Let's get morbed up. Okay, guys, here's the thing. Morbius, he may be an outsider, but one thing he's not, a champion of the marginalized.
Oh my God.
I think that, like, I think about marginalized communities, and probably the most marginalized are people whose names are on like some type of list. And there's maybe like a map saying where they live.
Guys, there's a very interesting article in NBC Think by a prominent cultural critic, and I'm just going to read it because he's got a very interesting take on this new Morbius movie. I have not seen it yet, but I've been thinking Morbius all the time. Like, I'll just say that this complicates my love of Morbius. So let's dive in. In Bram Stoker's original novel, the foreign perverse Dracula is almost universally read to stand in for immigrants, queer people, and Jews.
No, maybe immigrants. I might give you immigrants. We could talk about it, but I am not budging on Jews or queers. Wrong. Shut the fuck up.
My dear, come with me into the night. And do you have any Benadryl?
I never drink milk. When asked to choose sides, you rooted for the virtuous British heroes, not the blood-sucking Count.
Yeah, because he's a murderer.
Yeah, well, because he feeds off the blood.
He murders people. He kills human beings. That's the thing vampires do. That's like their defining characteristic, is that they kill people. They murder people is what they do.
In the new Marvel superhero film Morbius, the vampire is the good guy. What he is not, however, is a champion of the marginalized.
Oh, fuck off. What kind of hero, what kind of good guy could he be if he's not championing the marginalized?
Although Dracula has long represented the outsider, Morbius spends the whole film trying to be more normal. brilliant Dr. Michael Morbius. Wait, the guy's name is Michael Morbius.
Yeah. His name is Michael Morbius.
What are the status of negotiations now, like with a contract, and like where do you and the union stand now as it relates, like like Amazon and like getting a contract at the JFK 8 facility?
Yeah, well, as we can expect, the company going to fight us tooth and nail. So we're in the beginning stages of it. We're still trying to get certified officially after disputes that they're going to raise this coming days. So we're preparing ourselves for that. There's going to be a little uphill legal battle to get this all sorted out. But after this legal battle is over and we're officially certified, we're going to continue to walk and chew bubblegum at the same time and propose our contract right away. We're not going to hesitate or wait. We don't want this to be a long, dragged out process. Long, drawn out process. So we're going to start right away with that.
All right. Well, I mean, so what brought you to this moment? I mean, you started out working there. What was the light that went off in your head that thought like, hey, maybe we could use a union here at this Amazon facility?
Oh yeah, definitely. My journey started 2 years ago when I led a walkout outside of the same facility that we just unionized, JFK. I led a walkout over COVID-19. I was fired publicly 2 hours later. Then Jeff Bezos himself signed off on a smear campaign raised by his general counsel, calling me not smart or articulate, ironically making the face of the unionizing efforts. And, when I continued to advocate for workers' rights for about a year and a half, we started our campaign here in Staten Island. We wanted to bring it back home. And we started unionizing and organizing. And we realized that we had something special where we can get it done. And it was working for us. A brand new worker-led independent union with no major backing, no establishment behind us. We seen that this resonated with the Amazon workers more so we continue to do so.
So you had a working committee inside the building, and then Amazon brought in their own people also to be inside the building to sort of suss out like individuals who may be sympathetic to the union or intimidate or just just sell the company line. Like how did you turn that against them? Because I mean, these people are making $300 an hour to do this. Some of them are. How did you identify these people and sort of like organize against them?
Yeah, well, we researched every last one of them. They stick out like a sore thumb because they don't look like workers and they're not from New York. So they were easy to spot. And Amazon, it's easy to spot a millionaire in a warehouse. Trust me, I can tell you that.
Where they're walking around with a Red Sox hat inside the facility or something?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're walking around with khakis on and some nice shoes and some nice $1,000 jackets on, you're actually not an Amazon worker. I can tell you that right now. So we exposed them, and that's what we did. We made like most wanted signs. We put their salaries up. We put their faces up. Y'all watch my Twitter page. I always shared, information about who they are, what they're doing, how much money they're making. That also helped the workers point them out as well. They're like, oh, that's a union buster. So we made it fun. We even made it like to catch a Pokemon type game. We told the workers, like, if you see a union buster, let us know right away so we can expose them. And it also backfired.
Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all.
Like, if you have a blue check on Twitter, like in exchange for being given that blue check and that mark of verification and authenticity, you should not be able to report people for abuse. Like, you should not be able to mute. You should not be able to mute anyone. You should not be able to block anyone. You should just grin and bear it because you're using it for your career.
Mark, you're one of our. You're one of our Eloy. You're a wise pundit. There are responsibilities that come with that, and one of them is absorbing the anger and hostility of random people.
I'd like a carve out for that, since I'm verified and none of you are. I'd like a carve out for that because it's like, I would never mute someone for death threats. Like, I don't care. You're not going to do it. And like, if you are, the worst that's going to happen is like someone will take this recording where, I've repeatedly said you won't do it. You're too afraid. You lack the executive function to kill me. But then that's my family's problem. When I'm dead. It's
true. Yeah.
I don't
like,
really.
Well, you got owned. You don't have to worry about it. No one gets to go diss you to you because you're dead.
Yeah, exactly. But like I would like to reserve the ability to mute people for bad rips. I think that's a carve out for me only that I deserve that other people don't. It's not a problem.
Well, that's the thing is
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we're
you
talking
get a
about
lot of
people-
bad replies.
We're
Yeah.
talking about people who want to abuse blue checks, and what you're talking about is people who want to riff, and that's a completely different and much more awful, poisonous, soul-destroying process.
Yeah, if David Frum, like, I don't think he, like, the only thing that, like, really gets him mad is when you talk about when his wife just freaked out and, like,
On the airplane?
had a
That's how he banned
mental
me.
breakdown on an airplane because this guy was wearing a turban. That's the only thing that, like, really gets him to block people. Like, trust me, if he's able to, like, show his face in public and still write shitty articles and write a book every year that's called, like, the trumpeting of democracy, the darkness of votes, then he's already completely, like, he doesn't really feel bad about anything else he's done. He's he's either justified it or he's proud of it or he doesn't care. But if you, like, any, like, bad riff you would send to me, just send it to him. Just pretend that you're replying to a joke that I posted, and then he would kill himself. I'm stronger than any of these people. I can withstand this, even if, you know, I'm prohibited from muting after, you know, my carve out is denied. But other people are not. They could not go through what I have gone through for years.
You know, God gives his cringiest riffs to his strongest soldiers. That's you.
Yeah, you know, I call myself. I don't call myself an entertainer. Definitely don't call myself a comedian. Don't call myself a journalist. Call myself a smile maker.
It's true.
Part of being a smile maker is that people want to go to the factory and make the smiles with you. But let me tell you what, it's been very similar to another smile maker's factory, Willy Wonka's factory, because you're all falling into the river and turning into blueberries. You try to get into gears. Yeah.
You're all awful children who I want to kill, just like Willy Wonka.
And there's a few Charlies out there. There's a few nice kids who really see the point of making smiles. The rest of you are awful little cherubic German demons. You're going to drown in my river of smiles.
But anyway, like I thought we would dive into the mentality of the people that want to, you know, protect your kids from being, you know, taught about sex in school. And, you know, the place to go for anything. If you want to gauge what normal Americans think about human sexuality, there's only one stop shop, and that's thefederalist.com. So
The normalest place on earth.
yeah, I wanted to check in on thefederalist.com to see what they have to say about all this. And courtesy of a young lady named Kylie Zempel, I feel like we've probably
we read her article where she was like, guess what? I work hard, and, like, my Chipotle burrito is 30 cents more.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right.
We
Yeah.
should bring back slavery.
Yeah. All right. So this is Kylie Zempel writing in the Federalist. The headline is, "Weirdos who want to sexualize your children should absolutely be stigmatized as groomers." So this is just from today at thefederalist.com. Kylie Zempel writes, "What does it say about the pathetic state of the political right that instead of spending our energy advancing the ideas and institutions that promote human flourishing, we're quibbling over whether groomers is the right word to refer to people who delight in sexualizing other people's kids and hiding it from their parents?"
Sorry, I love, like, the new soy right wing, because they've just, like, internalized Twitter speak from the last 6 years. So it's like, oh yeah, it's really normal when we're deciding whether to call pedophiles groomers or not over on the Bird site.
I'm interested in this human flourishing that they're talking about. What are the human flourishing agenda that they're supposed to be advancing? I'm still waiting for some of that. Human flourishing.
I felt like I was flourishing until I had human reproduction explained to me. It's been nothing but downhill since then. So he goes, "The ranks of progressive and unmistakably pro-LGBT media who spend their days throwing around insulting hyperbole like Nazi, fascist, and silence is violence are being joined by so-called conservatives who've taken it upon themselves to lecture those to the right of them, that actually it's not appropriate to call kids entertainment creators and state-sanctioned educators who insist on sexually indoctrinating 5-year-olds groomers. It's absolutely absurd. Conservatives aren't abandoning their principles by abandoning needless throat clearing about teachers' alleged good faith and the left's intentions. We all know the left's intentions because they've made them perfectly clear. The most recent go-around started with them maliciously branding a bill protecting parents' rights, which are absolutely necessity for societal survival, as a bill that banned mention of the word gay in schools. It was a lie. The legislation seeks to keep leftist dogma about gender identity and sexual orientation away from 5 to 9-year-old kids. Now, like I know like the way that they've like actually crafted this bill is like vague enough that like that could technically be true, but like it's all intentionally vague because like it's designed to give the broadest leeway possible for like parents to get a teacher fired because they're gay or something, and it's also this idea that like you should never if you're a teacher, like you should never tell your kids if you're gay, because like that's introducing like your personal beliefs or like lifestyle. But like if you're straight, like how do you hide the fact that you're straight from kids, if you're married or have kids or something like that? It's just they're getting like I think they're promoting the idea that like it's not about don't say gay, but it's about like we don't want kids to ever learn of the fact that gay people exist in human society and are like a part of it and essentially as normal as anyone else is. Like that's what they have a problem with. They just want gay people back in the closet and in the U.S. Senate, continuing.
I mean, they want that, but once again, they're not getting it in school. Nobody pays attention in school. Nobody remembers anything that they learned in school. They're getting it from the same culture that the rest of us are steeped in. And that's what they hate, but there's no button to press. I mean, I guess you can go protest in front of the entrance to Disneyland, like some yahoos did yesterday in Anaheim, but that's all you can do. I mean, this stuff, you see, like, it's just this impotent tantrum, and as long as it makes someone suffer somewhere, it's doing the job. It doesn't actually have to affect any of these processes that are going on that they can't stop.
Well, I mean, like, it's just they're giving up the game here because it's just like to them, like being gay is sexual deviancy. And to include gay characters or gay or deviancy in children's media is to be like, I don't know what, like actively turning kids gay or recruiting kids to be gay, or I don't know, making people who wouldn't be gay, who wouldn't otherwise be gay, turn gay or something. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's the case, but like,
I mean, it does. You can. I mean, if it reduces the stigma, then it reduces like the barrier between someone deciding I'm gonna explore these feelings I have and see like where they go, or just saying, nope, that's not, it's too dangerous. It's too, there's too much hostility for me to do that. I'm going to just suppress it. And, maybe that would actually make someone like in like a real sense gay who wouldn't have been, because they would have repressed it enough that it wouldn't be, something that they even thought about all the time. They wouldn't even be aware of how much they had suppressed it because it happened at such a deep level because of those social cues that they were observing. And this is where, the liberal social order breaks down, because if you do think that homosexuality is deviancy, it isn't a disordered and inferior way to live, then like the liberal multicultural answer for all these questions is insufficient, And so that's why they've all decided that they're going to try to create a parallel, either take over the commanding heights of culture, the more delusional ones anyway, and reaffirm traditional values, or creating a parallel state. I mean, the real point of this, as many people have pointed out, is to just get rid of public education.
Yeah,
because if it's private schools, then you can pick which the curriculums, and you can pick the values that are going to be taught. And then, hey, if the Daily Wire has their alternative to Disney, well, then you can still have your kid on a fucking tablet for 18 hours a day, but you can be sure that they're not, because you have like the firewall up and you've got the Daily Caller kids booted into your systems. Then you can be sure that they're not going to be getting it anywhere else. And I think that they're probably going to get it, because it's not like they're the only people who want to get rid of public education. Plenty of liberals do too.
I think, like, more generally speaking, though, we're locked into a dance, and we're going to be locked into it until something completely breaks and we can no longer do it.
Yeah.
But the dance will be, there were versions of this, but they happened over long periods of time. But now I think it'll be year to year. Just be, on the virtue of how fast things move. The dance will be like, that sort of the 3 or 4 large media companies in America. Every few years, they're going to have to engage in like some form of clumsy ass covering. They're going to have to take the legitimate grievances of a group of people and try to digest it through their organs of superfluous creative personnel and bloated content schedules, and try to sort of shit out a product that keeps them as little socially liable for whatever as possible. They'll see like a movement about how black people are treated in America and be like, okay, like we hear you. We're like, for some reason we're going to do a land acknowledgement on the wild thornberries or something. It's just something ridiculous. And with like legitimate grievances with like LGBT people, it's I don't know what the fuck is on Disney Kids or Disney Plus or whatever, but I'm sure, like, just by virtue of how shitty all content is and how uncreative everyone is now, and the sheer amount of content that can just not possibly fulfill the gaping maws of Americans, I'm sure it's like as clumsy and like stupid as anything else they've done that's tried to have some sort of social balance. But then the next step of the dance will be like an insane conservative overreaction to it that ends in trying to end all public education in America and just branding random gay people as pedophiles and like getting them killed by psychos. And there's always going to be like an overreach after a while, but there will be some things enshrined in law that will take forever to undo. But there will always be a backlash to it because like both sides always overreach. No one really knows when to stop. And we're just going to be locked into that until, something completely breaks.
At the time, I proposed NATO expansion. However, there was a lot of respected opinion on the other side. The legendary diplomat George Kennan, famous for advocating the policy of containment during the Cold War, argued that with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the Warsaw Pact, NATO had outlived its usefulness. The New York Times columnist Tom Friedland said Russia would feel humiliated and cornered by an enlarged NATO. When it recovered from the economic weakness of the last years of communist rule, we would see a terrible reaction. Mike Mandelbaum, a respected authority on Russia, thought it would be a mistake too, arguing that it wouldn't promote democracy or capitalism. I understood that renewed conflict was a possibility, but in my view, whether it happened depended less on NATO and more on whether Russia remained a democracy and how it defined its greatness in the 21st century. Would it build a modern economy based on human talent in science, technology, and the arts, or seek to recreate a version of its 18th century empire fueled by natural resources and characterized by a strong authoritarian government with a powerful military? I love the idea that that they would really they really wanted Russia to build a modern society and an economy that could compete on a global stage.
How were they supposed to do that when we dismantled their entire fucking like infrastructure and sold it off to the highest bidder? How was that supposed to happen?
Yeah,
like,
and
they didn't get enough. They didn't get a Marshall Plan. Like they asked for one, and we told them to fuck off.
Yeah, and if we're being honest about what Clinton and several underlings and allies did to Russia in the 90s, allowing them to come back in any form, because it's obviously like still not a fucking great place to live, though it is improved in standards of living from the 90s in a lot of ways. Allowing them to come back with a world economy that has any leverage on Western Europe and some on the United States is a catastrophic L. Like fucking that country up so bad and then letting them have any leverage on you in the future is probably the absolute worst way you could have done things. And that
they
is
fucked it up
kind
so
of
bad.
how you do it. It's like that. I mean, like I think everyone listening is at this point pretty skeptical about Trump Russia bullshit. Despite the fact that it's a great avenue for anti-corruption on the left. But like, as we've said, like with that, if they did steal a US presidential election after what we did to them, you just got to take that. You just got to fucking hold that one. You've got to take that one on the chin. That's like you ran up behind a guy who's half your size, hit him in the head with a fucking brick, and he's permanently disabled. He's in a wheelchair, and he like fucks your wife and burns your house down. Well, that's really on you, isn't it?
Fair enough.
Yeah. How'd that happen?
And that's what's like. It's or would they want to create an 18th century empire fueled by natural resources and characterized by a strong authoritarian
You mean the
government?
thing they have? What they would want?
Natural resources and a big military is the leverage that they have. So he's like, well, they should just get rid of that and become a state.
They should just get rid of that and
has a strong
what?
tech sector.
Yeah. Look at
what?
Like, it's like, hey, you know the country that just abused you and like gave everyone HIV and crashed your standard of living by like a fourth? Don't have the things they have.
No.
Don't have a giant military, natural resources. Do not, under any circumstances, you do not want that.
Projecting military influence on your neighbors? Do not do that.
Yeah.
Look inward.
Reminds me of my favorite T.I. song, Be Better Than Me.
It does. It is. It's basically exactly what Bill Clinton said to the industrial workforce of America after NAFTA passed. Like, you guys go back to school, learn coding, and to basically find an entirely different set of values that don't involve asking for any fucking money or power or influence over anything.
That's called creating a modern economy based on human talent in science, technology, and the arts. The failure of Russian democracy and its turn to revanchism was not catalyzed in Brussels at NATO headquarters. It was decided in Moscow by Putin. He could have used Russia's prodigious skills in information technology to create a competitor for Silicon Valley and build a strong, diversified.
I'm sure
economy.
we would have welcomed that, certainly. A competitor for Silicon Valley? Absolutely. We love it. America, we love a little global competition over IP. Oh my God. It's our favorite thing.
What the
He could have
fuck are we
cultivated-
talking about? Like, if Russia built something similar to the iPhone, they would have flattened St. Petersburg. Jesus fucking Christ! Fucking Steve Jobs, they would have grafted his head onto a mech and fucking launched suitcase nukes all over the fucking country. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ!
Wait.
I know he's a former president. They have to run it, but like, this is insane. This is like just like print the goatsy guy. What the fuck is this?
In recent focus groups conducted over Zoom with 24 Gen Zers, Della Volpe started by asking them to share something good that had happened to them recently. He followed up by asking if they felt like their personal lives were on the right track, and if they weren't, why? He asked them about their mental health, the pressures and stresses they face. In both 90-minute sessions, it took nearly an hour before he explicitly asked about politics or politicians. Focus on values first, second, and third, Della Volpe said. It's perhaps a unique perspective in politics. No, it's not. That's what
they all say because it's free.
They all say. Yeah.
Values is free. You don't have to promise anything. You don't have to say we're going to fund something or change something. You could just say we have these values. It's the cheapest. They love hearing this shit. What, you're saying that I could fucking just put out some goddamn to TikToks with noted celebs saying how much we value young people and how the Republicans are actually not based, that they're actually cringe or whatever the fuck. They love hearing that.
So yeah, this 54-year-old boy genius, he's gonna get like Tony Coelho to do a TikTok where he's like, "Yo, having anxiety is chuggy. Let's vote blue." all the unindicted characters from The Ambition and the Power are gonna show up. Actually, not on a TikTok, on like Vimeo.
I'm skipping ahead a little bit because I'm trying to get to the beef here. Okay, so he says it starts with communication. Della Volpe said. Della Volpe.
Fucking God.
Della Volpe.
Okay.
Della Volpe. Della Volpe. It starts
The
with
political campaign involves communicating.
It
As a
starts
first
with
principle.
communication.
That's kind of wild that you brought that up, dude.
It starts with communication. Suggests regular check-ins to update them on policy progress, and citing Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, disciplined cadence of Instagram posts as one example of this practice. Okay,
Hell yeah.
so
I want to see Steny Hoyer dropping it like it's hot on Instagram Live.
So it starts with communication. Then empower them, Della Volpe said. He noticed that Democrats can sometimes stand in their own way in reaching young people because they're intimidated. They get weighed down in the transactional nature of politics. Della Volpe pointed to the tack Biden took as he locked up the Democratic presidential nomination. Say, where do we agree with Bernie Sanders groups? Where do we agree? And what's the process to get there?
Well, isn't that, you can only really do that one time though, right? Like like they said it, and of course, like all of the center left pundits just like fell all over themselves because they all said, look, even the ones who like were pro Bernie and didn't like Biden, they're like, look, we got to beat Trump. This is the most important election of all time, so we have to convince these rubes that Biden shares their values. And so everybody went all in on that, and it probably worked to an extent because people wanted it to work because they wanted to get rid of Trump. But now it's been 2 years and they've just been putting fucking cigarettes out in people's eyes for that entire time.
Well,
yeah. I mean, I don't care how many voices you listen to. You can't undo that one. And like, again, as we said a million times, your first time ever seeing generous federal unemployment checks and then fucking mean old Brandon takes it away. Do a million surveys. That's not going to fucking help you.
All right, let's talk about the shooting itself because, look, just like and like most of the times, an incident like this happens, and like what I want to say first and foremost, but this one, like the best news is like thankfully no one was killed. There were injuries, but like I'm just very very good that no one was killed in this act of terrorism or whatever. But whenever one of these things happens, and like all these weird details begin to pile up. It's like you sort of have to like question for yourself, like does it certainly seems like a sort of Gladio strategy of tension kind of thing, and there's a lot of like weird incongruities with like the security cameras not working or just like how easy like they're leaving his fucking credit card at the scene and the gun that he purchased legally to like do this attack. Discrepancies in the eyewitness accounts, but again, eyewitness accounts in a situation like that, like who the fuck knows how reliable they are. So I mean, once again, you're left with a question of like sort of like how. When people seem like they're ops or wreckers or something, you have to ask yourself, like, are they actually like, part of some intelligence operation, or do the intelligence agencies essentially not need to recruit people to do this kind of thing because like there are so many just angry, violent loners ready to do this kind of thing? I don't know. I mean, like, it's essentially will always be impossible to say. But like, what do you guys make of this shooting?
I try not to like immediately go to the FBI made this guy do something. You don't want to like always be completely reactive and just say that before you know anything. And like, I don't know. It's like, it's fucking weird that they're like, oh yeah, he dropped his debit card. But then you kind of have to remember Elmore Leonard's guiding principle that like a lot of criminals are just stupid.
Yeah.
Like that is some stupid shit that like a stupid guy who just randomly shoots up a subway car would do. Right.
Yeah.
The camera thing is fucking weird, but that could also be like, who knows? I mean, like, do you remember like the subway slasher, like hot seat guy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And how like the cops hid from him.
Cops locked themselves into the cab of the subway car.
So like, yeah, so maybe like cops did something like that. The NYPD is like, actually like somehow we set off an EMP that deleted everyone's cell phone footage and the cameras failed. So, but we acted bravely. Like, trust us. Like, I mean, there's like, there's multiple levels of explanations you can get for everything, with the highest level being like this guy was conditioned or is completely fictitious or something. And, the lowest level being this is just like a fucking idiot, like most attempted spree killers are, and was even dumber than them. And it's also police incompetence.
Well, that's the funniest thing about the whole thing is just the absolute keystone coppery of the NYPD.
Yeah.
That shit about how like the officer on the scene was like, "Oh, my radio isn't working. Could you guys just call 911?"
They were doing like the Scooby-Doo chase. They were like accidentally chasing each other through subway cars. They were like on top of each other at some point.
The shooter got away. The shooter got away because all the cops are doing the Hanna-Barbera running style where their feet go in motion for about 10 or 20 seconds before they dart off in one direction. Robert said, "I agree with what Danny's saying. People become judge, jury, and executioner. It could be at work, even at church. If you've got a different viewpoint than the other people and you're in the minority, then you could be, what do you call it, bullied?" Now, I mean, like, and again, like, this is both a phenomenon of the internet, like, sort of laying way, like we said earlier, about like sort of dissolving notions of community. But like, keep in mind that like the sort of like the standard American conservative male point of view, like, was the majority until, I don't know, very recently. And like increasingly, that's not the case. Like, culture does change and evolve due to a variety of different means. Whether you think that's fair or engineered in some way is sort of pointless, because an increasing number of people that they have to deal with that is now sort of like considered a cultural sort of common denominator or starting point, makes them feel like they're being bullied or that they fall outside of that sort of like comfort zone, and they feel like they're on the other end of it. And I think it's like a lot of like conservative fears about like racism or immigration. It's just sort of like it's tied up in this idea about like, I hope I'm never treated like I've treated everyone else my entire life for being different than me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I have been able to bully people and dominate and be a dick. And that's cool. And I like that. The idea that I could ever be subject to that, no, thank you. I'd like to opt out.
well, I mean, like they are getting their wish of like being able to do it again.
Well, I mean, like,
you could just do it to public school teachers now.
Yeah. And also, like, we talk about like partisan sorting of the population. That is also now turning into literal geographic sorting. Like, we're moving into like more politically homogenous communities, so that you'll be able to just go hog wild.
Yeah, I mean,
but thanks to the internet existing, still imagine that somewhere somebody is canceling you, so you get to feel oppressed, even while you're just like glorying in your uniformity.
or like not just imagine that someone out there wants to cancel you, but be exposed to like many people out there, strangers or even theoretical or real people who don't respect you, don't care to be bullied by you, or in fact are interested in bullying you. And like, I think a lot of what people feel or experience as like freedom or liberty in this country, whether they feel they are free to exercise it or be themselves or not free, I think largely depends on how free they are to bully others not like them, free from social consequences.
Yeah, no, that's American freedom.
That's what feeling freedom feels like, is that you can you can enforce a conformity of belief through like social shame and pressure on those that are different than you, without people scolding you or you having to feel bad about it.
Yeah, and the internet has democratized that sense of entitlement, but that is something that cannot be democratized because it's an incompatible thing. Like some hegemonic thing has to be asserted, and that's why we're splitting into two competing hegemonies, because you can't have one when everybody is imagines themselves to, as part of their like existential freedom, the right to that unimpeded domination of those around them.
Maybe one of the like only good jobs that will exist in the future, new good jobs in America, will be that you can move to like a politically homogenous community and be the guy that people yell at.
Yeah,
like you can,
a town dunce or something.
Exactly. Like we're gonna bring back town fools, but being a town fool means like maybe you like move to the villages and you're like, oh, I think it's offensive to have Christmas. We should have Black Lives Matter Day where white people kill themselves on December 25th, and then everyone yells at you. But then on the other side, you could move to like like somewhere in the Bay Area and be like, I don't, not all men. I'm wearing a fedora. I love Infinite Jest. And you could just be like town dunce is as well paid a position as like corporate lawyer or something.
Yeah,
you make $300,000 a year.
Yeah, we need like the sin eater of the community. You put them in the stockade and people throw vegetables at them, but they're making well into six figures. So as long as you don't seriously hurt them, you can't. Yeah, that'd be a great job.
I would love to do that job
because like that'll use trolling to like societal benefit, because like if you just like plant trolls in their opposite communities, like they can all the social pressure can be offloaded onto them, but in a kind of like safe and consensual way.
Yeah, I would love to be the town fool of the villages or like Stone Mountain, Georgia. And like like every town should have like a forum or like a mini Twitter, and I would go on and like do call out posts on people for like not giving pronouns to their dogs and shit.
Oh yay! Oh yay! Oh yay!
Yeah.
All
that
listen.
Would be, yeah.
The words of Caesar.
It'd be a fun job for me.
Soltis Anderson says, show of hands, how many of you would say that men have it harder these days than 2 or 3 decades ago? Joe says, what comes to mind is Governor Cuomo of New York, who I hate. I couldn't stand him. I was so happy when he was gone. But maybe he was really trying to have a relationship with one of these women. I just feel like I feel like the people just rush to judgment on things, but that goes back to the cancel culture idea, where they just look to go after people. There's a mob, and then once they go after you, that's it. You work in the workplace, you have to watch what you do. You want to pat someone on the back? Oh, whoa, that might be, you better be careful. I just love he's like, I hate Governor Cuomo. I'm so glad that he's gone, but like honestly, like I support all the sexual harassment he did. I mean, I thought it was very unfair what happened to him. Yeah, he's a romantic guy, and you can't ask someone their bra size in the office anymore. You can't ask about their sex life, or it becomes a big thing.
Welcome, listeners, to the triumphant rebirth of our celebrated Beltway Insider Series. I'm Chris Wade, a.k.a. Lil Smoot Hawley, here with Matt Chrisman, a.k.a. Taft Hartley, a.k.a. The Big Magician. What's up, Matt?
Hey, happy to be back. Very excited.
And just as we're getting started here, because there's been some controversy on this subject that's never been officially addressed on the show, I would just like to say regarding one of the previous hosts of this ongoing series, he was unfortunately eaten by an alligator in the Louisiana bayou while on assignment reporting a now canceled 12-part investigative podcast miniseries called Tough as Clay, the Clay Higgins story.
Oh, R.I.P. to everyone, mon ami.
But it is a midterms year. So after Matt and my, I'll just call it magisterial recounting of the entirety of U.S. presidential history last year, we figured we'd team up again to give a deep dive update into the current state of electoral politics here in America. This is the rebirth, the Beltway Phoenix.
Because the Biden coalition is weird. I said that before. It's probably a better word. It is like everyone from most DSA members to Bill Kristol, and they want different stuff. Like, it is really like, I'm going to suck it down and vote for, and a lot of those people are, I'm going to suck it up and vote for Joe Biden, who I don't love. There are people who he's more liked than Hillary Clinton was for lots of reasons. But there are a lot of voters who were like, I voted for him to get Trump out. Things are still bad. I'm tuning out everything, and maybe I'll tune back in and vote Democratic because if I see that Stephen Colbert that night and he scares me, maybe I'll vote. Not a very edifying election. That's where I see people talking.
It also strikes me when there's, when people are writing a lot about this kind of historic collapse of young people's enthusiasm in the Democratic coalition, how much that suck it up and vote for me was the explicit pitch of the Biden campaign of being like, basically like, you don't like me, I don't like you, but everybody has to get in the van to do this one thing. And now the one thing's done. And I mean, that was the statement from the beginning. So it's like, it shouldn't.
Their argument, like, it is very funny watching people get mad at the young people for checking out because, like, what Biden's explicit pitch to people was, I am the status quo. You will not get what you want, but that's okay because we have this bigger mission. But you know what? When the election's over, we'll discuss it.
Yeah.
Like we'll see. Your parents saying we'll see. Well, you got home and you found out what many kids do, that we'll see means no. We'll see always means no. They're just trying to shine you on, and so this is absolutely predictable. And if you do believe that Biden is constrained and can't do the things that these people want him to do, then getting mad at them for feeling that way to me is absolutely baffling, because you're essentially asking them to just act like you're your parents, essentially, like pretend you own a home.
Yeah,
but most, it's like, I'm sorry, I am who I am. I have student loan debt, and I have a precarious life situation, and there's these things that I imagine this guy could do, and this stuff that his predecessor was doing, that they're now being cut off, and we're being told, like, accept this. It's like, yes, if you are a secure Democrat, the people who really pushed Biden over, the people who didn't want to die of COVID, and so voted for Biden over Trump, for them, this is not a big deal. This is not a reason to not do your duty to vote for the Democrats. But they're young people. By definition, they vote less. They're supposed to care about politics less because they're supposed to be having fun.
I mean, Rod cries about cartoons too, but like he's mainly like, religiously fixated. And he's written articles in the past about the culture of divorce. And you know what? I gotta say, you were supposed to be the patriarch of your family, Rod. How are you gonna let your wife divorce you? That is not, you're not fulfilling your religious duty, Rod. And honestly, you deserve to be shamed for this, because I mean, also like, just moving to a different country to get away from your wife, and then being like, divorce is like the logical outcome there. It's going to happen.
I gotta say, if he wants people to like not speculate and stuff, he did a bad job with the weirdly intriguing bit about how like he didn't just say like we've been having problems over the years. He said it started in 2013.
2013.
Well, that's the clue.
Like
We gotta
it's so
figure that out.
specific. Like this is clearly like a deal where like if you were introducing this character in a modernist novel, you would refer to the incident. What is the incident, Rob? We all want to know now. I'm sorry, you've got us intrigued.
He's leaving breadcrumbs. We have to like figure this out. What happened in 2013?
What happened in 2013, Rod? Now I want to go back to his writing. I want to go back to the 2013 blogging, and I want to see if it like shows up anywhere in the subtext.
Oh, George Zimmerman was acquitted. The Snowden leaks. The marathon bombing. It's the Boston Marathon bombing. Has to be. Has to be.
Yeah, the incident was his wife bought a pressure cooker for two handsome lads from Boston.
Oh, gay marriage. The Supreme Court finds for gay marriage.
Oberfell.
Okay.
That's it. We cracked
It's like,
it.
oh, this marriage is now garbage.
Yeah,
How
no,
am I supposed
exactly.
to keep
That's
caring
it. We
about
cracked
this
it.
That is
relationship?
it. That is
Gays have
it.
Sullied the very
We
institution.
cracked it.
The hot new thing on the right is basically cooking your testicles under a heat lamp. You guys seen this? It was Tucker had a whole segment on it.
Tucker?
Yeah.
Talk about having hot balls.
Yeah,
You
no.
gotta get those. You gotta cultivate those hot balls.
You got to get your balls hot.
It's the only way
Yeah,
to
no.
stay masculine.
Dude, Tucker is the best.
Testicle
at the
tanning.
business. You gotta
testicle
give it
tanning.
Testicle tanning. Oh, so it's
Yeah,
about the color.
Well, no, it's not about the color. It's about like sort of heating your balls to like preserve your testosterone levels.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it is a technique cultivated by hokum artists who it claims there's sort of benefits to reversing the effects of falling testosterone on your body as you
so
age.
it's soy to have cold balls.
Yeah. Or if your
Okay.
balls, if you don't heat, like I said, like in the video clip of it, it's like these guys standing in front of what is essentially like a vertical Arby's heat lamp, like what would normally be like keeping the prime rib nice and warm. You just stand like totally nude with your balls just getting cooked by this I don't know, this certain kind of tanning lamp or something like that.
That
And
rocks.
apparently, like this is a way of slowing or halting the falling testosterone levels. And you want to keep that T high up, and you got to do that by keeping your balls nice and toasty, like at least once a day. Get your balls nice
if you
and hot.
avoid seed oils and you keep your balls nice and microwaved, you will prevent global homo from stealing your testosterone.
Wow.
And this is
Honestly, that's a good one. I feel like that took a lot of creativity, and I commend them for that one. It sounds right. They convinced me. I'm about to put my shit in the microwave.
By the way, Adam, I love Nick's Tucker impression.
It's so good.
It's so good. I mean,
What are we doing?
He gets the place, but he also gets like the sort of template for every one of his little monologues is like a rapid fire series of like asking and then answering questions to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, who let this happen? Who asked us that? Who's making our balls cold? Not me. My balls are my balls are warm. We should, So like, did anyone ask your permission to take away your testosterone?
Uh-huh. It's also so funny because it's all just like 90-year-olds that are watching that. They're so old. They're watching that. They're like, "Oh, that's what's wrong with me. I'm not actually dying. I'm not actually."
Yeah, it's like,
My
my
balls
balls
are
you're
my
not
balls
losing
aren't fucking
testosterone
toasty
because you're
enough.
in your
Yeah.
70s. That's not why.
Oh, that's why I have tits now because I've been heating my balls every day.
I would say this movie is a perfect example of how like the like myths of the Catholic Church have just gotten so dog shit. Because it used to be about miracles and stuff, and then in this movie, he's visited by Mary and Jesus, and Mary's like, You can't die yet. God has a big plan for you. And the
that guy
plan-
was supposed to be Jesus?
And then the plan is that he gets a 38 BMI. And that's literally that's all he does the rest of the movie after that point.
Yeah, he's visited by like Lin-Manuel Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who also he's like his face is fucked
It's
up
like it's
for some
Freddy
reason.
Krueger Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. I love the Christ. We're jumping ahead here, but the Christ scene is awesome because like Christ sees him drink 97 beers and is like, by the way, don't drive tonight. And it's like, oh, that has to be a force of the supernatural. That has to be a manifestation of Jesus Christ. How else would he know that he would be hit by a car tonight?
Where is it supposed to take place? Because like for the first,
I think it's Montana.
which
Which is why his decision to do like a twangy Southern accent is so baffling.
he said one word that sounded like Southern, and I was like, oh, this doesn't take place in Boston.
Yeah, it weirded me out. I'm so used to him doing a Boston accent that I still thought it took place in Boston for the first 10 minutes or so.
He's like, where the fuck did you put my spittoon?
Yeah, his accent. He's attempting a Southern accent in Helena, Montana, but like. If evil Eric Alper put a gun to my head and played that voice for me and was like, what region is that accent from? I would say lone survivor of a car accident.
Yeah, he sounds like he's undercover. He does a really bad job of this movie.
And like I said, he is immediately basically Me Too'd by a guy who wants him to, like, I don't know, hold a sign on Hollywood Boulevard or something.
It's an attempted Me Too because it's the same thing, the same Mark Wahlberg thing as he has with 9/11, where he heard the Me Too stories and he was like, well, if I was there, completely differently.
That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts when he goes to the church for the first time is that he meets a guy named Ham.
Yeah, the first black guy he's never punched in the face, and he becomes his closest confidant.
Confidant, but then any time that he can in the movie, he brings up the fact that he's black.
Yeah. Which is like, dude,
He's
it's
like,
way crazier that his name is Ham.
Yeah. There's a scene in the movie where they're playing like, oh, I don't know if I'm skipping ahead too much, but they're playing basketball, and he's just like, bro, I'm out of shape, and you're black.
It is wild. He goes when he meets him. He goes Ham. And he's like Ham, and he's like, yeah, it's from the Bible, and it's like, yeah, that's like the guy who got cursed. Like that's what like slave owners used to claim. Like, well, yeah, black people they got the curse of Ham on them, and he's like, yeah, that's me.
Ham. Yeah,
I'm a ham who got cursed.
Yeah, it is so
We're
funny.
the
There's one
sons of
point.
the hams you couldn't curse.
There's one point later in the movie too where like Ham calls somebody and leaves a voicemail on the answering machine that's like, "Hey, this is Ham." I would save that voicemail forever.
Mark Wahlberg's black friend.
I've got these are my black friends. These are my black friends, hamburger and fries.
Oh, maybe it was short for hamburger. That makes more sense.
Yeah. He's Hamburger Junior.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, sir, what you stand for and the values you represent are not what Twitter stands for, and not what I've grown to love about this social media platform. Fellas, what do you think? Are you decamping for greener pastures, or like more humanitarian social media outlets?
Twitter used to be known for things of the day like Bean Dad. And now it's owned by a man who's known for being bad. Used to be that you avoided being the main character. Now, the character who owns it would be otherwise known as a villain in works of fiction. But this is real life. I think that it's interesting that a lot of us found our chosen families who we filled up Friendsgiving and Friends Easter and Friends Christmas with on Twitter. And now we're going to be in a family burial plot because we will be executed by the villain, Elton Musk. It's a sad day. It's a sad day. And, it used to be that Twitter was owned by literal kings and princes, which was beautiful. It was perfect for a fairy tale such as Twitter, a real life fairy tale. But now it's owned by the man who owns Princess Skeleton. I don't know if that's true. Sad day. And if anyone would like to come to my house to end their life with pills that I've sourced with me, you are welcome.
It used to be Twitter was partially owned by BlackRock. And now that Elon Musk owns it, it makes me want to smoke rocks because he's crazy.
Ooh, okay.
He's crazy.
Okay,
He's a bad guy.
Okay. It used to be that Twitter was owned by BlackRock. Now it's owned by a guy whose family owned black guys.
Yeah. So it's a new era. It's a new era. I mean, like, I'm already being shadow banned. I've already lost probably 10,000 followers. I expect to lose more in the coming days, but you can't fire me. I quit Twitter. Because I mean, look, in our discussions about this, I mean, we talked about what we all know is coming. What we all know is coming for independent voices like us. They're going to systematically remove all of the things that we enjoy using Twitter for. That's right. Elon Musk is banning everyone from posting food gore that can be shared in group DMs.
There's no more food gore. You can't share like a sort of bright pink chicken breast made by a submental cretin who lives under a staircase. You can't post like a certain barbershop that has one thing that makes it a little different than other barbershops in the world.
We know it's coming. I mean, I've already seen speculation about this, but on the new quote unquote free speech Twitter, you will not be free to wish happy birthday to actors. That's going away. That's being taken away from us. And what Felix, you said you can no longer ask Garlic Corgi to juice this on a post.
No, that's done. That's done because they think that's manipulation and bot activity, and it's not. It's real people doing that.
Well, a final thought on this. I was also at the Stevens rally on Monday in front of his apartment, like the first time he was able to like freely walk outside his apartment building for the first time in about 3 years, and except to go to like a halfway house or like check-ins or things like that. I think Chris Small said is that he said like when Amazon fired him, he was like, I lost my healthcare, I lost my job, I'm unemployed, like the pandemic just happened, nobody's hiring. I really have nothing to lose. So I'm going to make this my job now. And he stayed at that bus station for a year, signing up people and just talking to other workers at that Amazon facility. And eventually, won against Amazon. And I think like the thing is like, and Donzinger's case is another perfect example of this. It's just like, I know America was fucked up, but like the fact that like a judge appointed a private law firm to prosecute an American citizen, regardless of what they're accused of, is chilling. And it's a vision of the future that is in store for all of us. And it's this feeling that like, there's no one coming to help us. Like, no matter how cynical you are about politics, the most cynical of us still have some belief or placing our chips on this idea, just like Moldbug and all those guys are, that there's just some figure is going to come and change everything or right the wrongs and punish the bad people and like change things and make it better. People still have that hope. And it is a terrifying thing to realize that there really is no one in power who is going to have your back or who's going to protect you at all. But it's also a very liberating idea because it means that it truly is in your hands. But if it's in just your hands, then you will fail and then you will become disillusioned and become, like I said, I think more likely to go down this path of sort of like right-wing nationalist nihilism, whatever was in that article that we just read. I think, but if you do through other people, you will not feel alone and you stand some chance of like I said, protecting yourself or doing something because no one else is going to do it for you.
Whether or not the American Napoleon or Gaddafi is out there, he still wants you to get to work. So act like he's coming to do inspections tomorrow, pal.
All right, and once again, and congratulations to Steven Donziger on his freedom. I'm very happy for him. Wednesday night was the first time he'd been in Brooklyn in 3 years. And so
he immediately asked to be taken back.
Did he get a chopped cheese from a bodega?
Yeah, he was quoted as saying, "I'm spreading love. It's the Brooklyn way."